There's a version of the overnight success story that we love to tell about creative businesses. Someone discovers a craft, shares it with the world, and within what feels like the blink of an eye, they're full time. And if you're someone who's been at this for years, carefully building, slowly growing, wondering when your moment is coming, hearing about those kind of success stories can feel, well, sometimes inspiring, but also maybe a little bit defeating. But what if the overnight part is actually mostly an illusion? Today's guest is Aaron Raymond of Redacted Ceramics, a potter based in Nova Scotia, Canada, who went from renting a wheel for 1 week to running a full-time pottery business in under 2 years, which sounds crazy. On the surface, it looks like a story about a style that exploded on Instagram. And while that is true, what the highlight reel doesn't show is that Aaron spent plenty of time before pottery building his own version of self-employment. From teaching English online to editing court documents remotely, he already knew how to manage his own schedule, find his own clients, effectively drive his own ship. By the time clay entered the picture, I would argue that there was already a foundational layer of knowledge, and perhaps even more crucially, the mindset it takes to manage working for yourself and all the uncertainty that comes with that reality. We get into so much in this conversation, from how Aaron developed his incredibly distinctive tile-inspired glazing technique to the very real physical toll of applying thousands of dots per mug, to the eternal tension of pricing handmade work fairly for yourself without completely pricing out the people that you most want to reach. We also talk about navigating cross-border shipping, building an email list, and why knowing your limits might be the most underrated business skill of all. If you've ever looked at someone's trajectory, especially online, and thought, how? Well, this conversation is for you. So let's get into it right after a quick word from our sponsor. This episode is sponsored by The Community, your creative business support system with over 100 makers from around the world, with both the practical education you need to make a living from the things you make, found in our masterclasses on topics like finances, marketing, and SEO, plus the emotional support of fellow makers who truly understand what it's like to try and make a living from the things we make. It's like having both a business school designed specifically for artists and a team of colleagues who actually get what you're going through. But you don't have to take my word for it.
Hey, this is Tim Clark, side hustle owner and operator of the Half Blind Pottery Company. So I initially took Rebecca's online photography course to step up my very lacking photography skills. And just as a side note, yes, you can take beautiful, high quality photos of your ceramics with just a cell phone and 10 to 15 minutes of your time. And if this knuckle dragging, clay throwing Neanderthal can do it, you certainly can too. That led to being introduced to the Maker's Playbook community, and I've been part of the Clayborhood for just over a year now. The Clayborhood has been a game changer for me. It's filled with folks that have the biggest hearts and have shown up for me big time, both in clay and life beyond clay. So I think the best way I can describe the Maker's Playbook is maybe Maker's Market for Dummies meets the Swiss Army knife. Meaning, whether it's marketing, bookkeeping, marketplace setup, workflow logistics, whatever, someone in the community has been there and done that, and they're more than willing to share their experience to save you the trouble. So no matter where you are in your journey, from newbie to seasoned potter, there is definitely a welcome place for you in the Clayborhood. I can be found on Instagram at the Half Blind Potter. Feel free to reach out to me. I am happy to share my personal experience in the Maker's Playbook community with you.
Now, on with the show. Welcome to the Maker's Playbook, the show where we talk all about what it's really like to make a living from the things you make. I'm your host, seasoned entrepreneur of 14 years, Rebecca Ikes Cara. Hey, Aaron, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I also just realized as I said that, I usually make people say their name out loud just to make sure, even if it's obvious, I just do it across the board. And I didn't, and my heart rate went slightly up as I started. So, since nobody knows who I'm talking to yet, I'm gonna just let you kick it off and go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Aaron Raymond. I am a potter in Nova Scotia, Canada. And I don't know how much detail you want. I'm
Whatever you
36
want.
years old. And
Favorite date, favorite color.
for my pottery, I'm probably most known for the little tiles that I put on mugs, tile designs.
I have to confess something that when I was, like, looking at my calendar for the week, making sure I knew what was going on, I was like, "Aaron? Who's Aaron?" And then I was like, "Oh, redacted." Like, this is
Right.
what Instagram has done
Yeah,
to
I
our
don't go
brains,
by
which
my
is
name.
not great.
A lot of potters go by their name on Instagram, which is helpful, I guess.
Maybe, but also I meant it more as an embarrassing thing for myself that instead of remembering your actual name, we just remember each other's Instagram handles now.
For
Like,
sure. It happens all the time.
welcome to the 21st century, I guess.
Exactly.
So when we were chatting before, we got on here to hit record, you were mentioning how short of a period of time you actually got into clay, which is shocking to me because when I look at your body of work, well, number one, I use the phrase body of work. Like when I was a couple years into clay, I was all over the place. I was doing this, I was doing that. So tell us a little bit about how it kicked off and how you
Yeah.
stumbled upon the tile vibe.
So, first time throwing was March 2024, kind of that winter. I was like to my wife, like, "Oh, pottery looks pretty fun." We had seen a couple of videos on Instagram. I was like, "We should give it a try." And we ended up looking online for like classes nearby, and there weren't really many options. There was one place, but they were like booked for 3 months. But then stumbled across a place that rented out a wheel.
Mm.
So I was like, "Let's just rent a wheel. We'll order some clay." And I just thought, "Well, if we have a wheel at home, I can practice as much as I want in that time." So did that, threw on some Florian Gatsby videos because he goes into such good detail, and then just tried to follow along as best I could. And then after the week, we returned the wheel, and I was like, "I'm into it." So kind of crazily splurged, got the wheel, ordered a kiln at the same time.
Oh my God.
Ordered a bunch of clay. Because the tricky part where we live, there is no at the time, there was no clay shop.
Sure.
Everything comes from 2 provinces over, 2 states over.
Yep.
I started to, like, kinda rationalize, okay, if we throw things and have to go fire it somewhere, the closest community kiln is, like, 20 minutes away. So if I have to do that a couple times, I was, like, calculating the costs. I'm like, "We just buy the kiln, and it doesn't work out, we can sell it.
Mhm.
But if it does
Mhm.
work out, it'll pay
Yeah.
for itself." So, yeah.
I was gonna say, I can see where this math is going. Yeah, yeah. I agree with the math, clearly. But there's also, like, there's no way I mean, I was at a community studio for years and knew nothing about firing because all I did was put my stuff on the shelf, and then when I came in the next time, it was on my shelf because it had been bised. Like, I didn't know anything about
Yeah.
elements or changing elements or what kind of electrical hookup you needed in the house and, like
Yeah, Google's good.
oh my gosh. I'm also always impressed by anybody who clearly throws proficiently and only learned through virtual online means because I remember the moment I was watching somebody in person. I had already taken classes and it finally clicked that what I was supposed to be understanding was what they were doing inside the pot and not outside
Ah,
because
right.
you only see the outside. And so I was, for, I don't know, probably 2, 3 years, I was focused on my right hand all the time. And then finally it was like, oh,
Ah. I mean, the stuff at the beginning was not nice.
well, nobody's
As it
is.
everybody
That
is,
would just
yeah,
be rude if you
for sure.
That's amazing.
It was great just to have it at home, like, practice.
Mhm,
Obviously, it
mhm.
wasn't a job at that point, but
Yeah,
could
yeah.
practice as much as we
So
wanted,
when
and
so 2 okay, before I get ahead of myself, you're saying "we," so who's "we"? Number 1.
my wife and I, at that time, yeah.
Cool,
She
cool.
does a bit of hand building stuff now, but not
Gotcha.
yeah.
At the time, meaning she's not into wheel throwing, not that she's left.
No. No.
Well, we
Exactly.
all get addicted to clay, so we do
Yeah.
have to have in very understanding partners for the ones not married to potters.
Totally.
So how long have you been full time?
Officially full time since like last November, just a few months ago.
Yeah, but that's also
Officially.
like bare sort like year and a half in ish, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is where the answer to the question that started this whole podcast just sums up with, dear friends, if you want to be a full time artist, move to a country with national health care.
That's as I've been listening to different podcasts or different interviews you've done, that was like the one thing that always stood out with American Potters is like, you have to think about healthcare. And I was like, we don't have to think about that,
No,
which is a
no.
huge thing
Yes.
for
Yeah.
your monthly expenses.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, the first time I, I don't want to say this because I feel like my mom or somebody who knew me before 2010 is going to be like, "Wait, you're forgetting that you knew so and so." But aside in this moment, my memory tells me that aside from the woman I took painting classes with growing up, the first time I really met working artists who weren't also professors or who weren't also something else, but like working artists was when I lived in the UK.
Oh, okay.
And it was
Yeah.
like, just and who had kids going to college, who, were doing quote unquote normal life, but
Yeah,
as artists. And it was like,
for sure.
ah, right. Yes.
Yeah. I grew up, my mom used to make these like crybaby dolls. I don't know if
Hmm.
when we were kids, so she'd always take us to the markets with her and selling them.
Yeah.
That was like my introduction to selling crafts and arts and
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah. So this wasn't totally like completely out of left field, maybe, or maybe it was.
the clay was, yeah, never
Okay.
the old like we kind of started to notice pottery. We lived in Portugal for a couple of years, and obviously pottery is huge there, and that's kind of where we first started to be introduced to handmade goods, and we kind of started to buy little bits and pieces while we were there. Yeah, but the actual idea of doing it myself wasn't until
Right.
2024. Yeah,
How long ago was Portugal? Just timeline wise.
that was 2018 to 2020 COVID.
Okay.
Then we
Yep.
left.
Okay, so that makes sense. So it was kind of like an inkling somewhere back there, maybe, maybe not. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah, yeah.
Who knows? Well, take us through, and you can go into as much depth as you want. Doesn't matter. Buying that wheel, sitting down at home, watching videos, learning, and I mean, I don't know that many people who get that clear of a voice and a vision and a style in a shorter period of time as you do.
I guess my wheel skills are good at doing straight sided pieces. I don't have like
Cylinders.
I can't do huge vases or anything like that. I need to practice more, but it's just I haven't gotten there yet with that because I've been stuck on straight sided pieces and most of my time is actually decorating. But anyways, I was working hard to get nice straight sided pieces and how tiles kind of got introduced. I wanted to replicate some of the street tiling in Portugal because we lived there. It was like, oh, that would be super cool to put that on a mug. And that's kind of where it started before I ever knew about Cricut or Silhouette. These like cutting machines, it was like hand taping and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of changed, like being able to see doing it on a larger scale, just being able to use a machine to cut the designs because
Yep.
hand taping is brutal.
Well,
I know
I've
some putters
talked
do
to,
it. It's like, oh,
Sarah at Not Work Related. I think it was a couple of years ago that I chatted with her, and I should look up the episode to link it here. But, she's still, her design's different than yours, obviously. So she's still hand taping for what she's doing, but like, oof.
yeah, it's a lot. Some designs I do would be impossible to do with hand taping just because of
Sure.
circles and hexagons and things like that.
Oh, right. So that's actually the flip side of the coin of what I was just thinking, which was it's always interesting this dichotomy between, we get into a craft to use our hands, to have that like that human connection to a thing well, we get into a craft for a million different reasons, but I'm assuming a lot of us who then also buy pots, you're looking for I'm doing things with my hands people can't see if they're only
Yeah.
listening, but, you're looking for that touch, and then at the same time, for people that are getting more and more into it proficiency and professionally and all of these things, you're looking for ways to make it manageable and sustainable and viable. And
Yeah.
so then we start to kind of curve to this other direction, which is ironic because it's like what started in one direction then is like, okay, well, how do I, it's not automating anything, but, like, how do I make this a little bit less
For
labor
sure.
intensive, right?
Yeah. And it still is extremely
Right.
labor intensive because like most have around 1,000 to upwards of 5,000 dots per mug. So it's like, it's a lot of time spending. So it's
Yeah.
just, I can take that element out of it of hand taping.
Right. Right. Which is makes complete sense.
I wouldn't keep
100%.
doing it if I had to hand tape it. Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand how you could.
And a lot of them I couldn't.
Yeah. Yeah. But that is super interesting that it by, like, blending both the machine and the human, you were able to expand your style, expand kind of your creativity in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And it kind of stood out. Other people do squares with hand taping and things like
Mhm.
that. It just
Mhm.
allowed to go a lot smaller and increase what you can do with designs on the mugs.
So give yourself more dots, because
Yes.
1,000 was too small. You were like, "Let's do
Yeah.
it with 5,000."
That one, yeah. It's a lot. It's been a good year where I've done it a lot. And I realize it's not sustainable to necessarily be doing it that much because it is pretty hard on your wrists and things like that. So I am also trying to think of other ideas to incorporate still having the tiles, but maybe less of
Mhm.
them and things like that.
It is so recognizable, number 1. They're so incredibly well done. I'm, like, scrolling pictures right now just looking at them. And also, like, it seems like it took off really quickly, I guess. I don't wanna make this whole I'm struggling with how to frame this question because I
No,
don't wanna
it's
make the whole conversation about Instagram, but,
no, but yeah,
like,
it's true.
something took off.
Yeah. It was the stop motion videos.
Mm.
Like I think I've made 6 total. I was just looking the other day. From 5 of them, I've gotten 19,000 followers from the 5 stop motion videos. That was kind of the kickoff to getting recognized and then, yeah, people wanting it. And
Yeah.
because 'cause they're pretty slow to make, I can't make that many, so they usually sell out pretty quick.
Well, right, that's always the interesting thing for me when people start talking about, we have this conversation a lot, like in our community membership and things of like growth and like, wanting or needing or feeling like you need to grow an audience online and stuff like that. And when you think, and I'm always like, okay, well, why? But why? But why? Dependent upon, okay, if you're a production thrower like Francesco who's whipping out mugs every 5 minutes, then yes, we need a much bigger number of people, but for what you're doing, I mean, at the time of recording, as I pull up Instagram, I doubt your goal is to make 35,000 mugs of times the number of dots. That's just a scary number.
Yeah, yeah. I think last year I made around 600-ish
Okay.
mugs
Yeah.
or items, plates, mugs
Yep.
total,
Yep.
which is pretty small amount, I imagine, compared to production potter.
But not small when you think about the surface.
No. A lot of
Yeah.
dots.
Well, so what I guess kind of I'm picturing a trajectory of parallel lines in terms of this recognition online happening, being in tandem with saying, okay, I think I can do this full time. But that's me making an assumption. So correct me, shed some light on kind of how that all
Yeah.
happened.
So I'll go back before while I was learning pottery, I was teaching English online
Mhm.
and also doing something called scoping, which is like editing court documents with like a stenographer. So I worked with a couple court reporters in the States editing their documents after they wrote them. While the pottery was taking off, I kind of slowly got rid of the teaching. So I was just doing the scoping and the pottery. And then once I was making more doing pottery than I was doing the scoping, then I lessened that till November, and then that was last. So now it's just pottery. Yeah,
Right in time for holiday insanity, I imagine.
exactly. I mean, yeah. I can only make so many.
Yeah.
So I did what I could. And yeah, I mean, it's a nice problem to have that
Yes.
it sells out quick. I am looking at, yeah, things that I can maybe be higher production, sell for less. Cause I also don't want to be priced so high where it becomes unreachable for some. So I'm always have that in the back of my mind as well.
This is like the eternal dilemma, isn't it?
Hmm.
Because I think I don't know that I've ever spoken to anybody who hasn't, you know, said like, well, that wanting that moral conundrum of, maybe I'm being dramatic calling it a moral conundrum, but wanting to be accessible, not wanting to be with your nose in the air and like, yes, this piece is worth $3,000, but at the same time, my rebuttal question always is affordable to who? Not in the sense of who your audience is, but more in the sense of like yourself. If we, as a person who undercharged for what she did for a very long time,
Yeah.
because I was trying to say affordable, then when I looked at the hours I put into it was like, "Oh, I would make more money if I go work for Starbucks."
Right.
And that was the time where I was like, "Right, it's time to raise my prices."
Yeah. And I have like raised them slowly because I wasn't in the pottery world before. Other potters have, it's like you're charging too little for the amount of work you're doing. And people put good arguments like it can also, if you're charging too little, people are comparing that and they're like, oh, then that's why is this person charging this much? And it can kind of create a bad market.
It's always the most difficult thing, at least I mean, I remember when I was first starting photography and it was like, I was acutely aware that my skills were not the same as those of the people I admired, so there was no way I felt like I could charge what they would charge.
For sure. Yeah.
And at the same time, you don't wanna undercut the industry by charging too little for the people that have been around and are charging, and it's like this, I don't know, chicken and egg a little bit, and I think actually this is just my experience and personal opinion. I think the middle is actually more damaging. I think when we're, like, really under, people kind of understand, you know, I don't expect shoes I buy for $20 to last as long as shoes that I might buy for 80 or 100 or whatever. Whereas when you're in the middle of it, that's maybe, I don't know, maybe it's more damaging because people don't, like, your average consumer doesn't know the difference between, they know the difference between bad and good, but they don't know the difference between good and great.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. It's a hard one pricing.
Right. Right.
Yeah. And then I also like 80% of my sales go to the US.
Sorry.
And so like, no, no, no. I it's I don't mind. But also like I do fact so if I charge the US price in Canada, it's like 35% more, which is like
Okay.
almost pricing out Canadian buyers. So I kind of also try and be in the middle there where I can still get Canadian buyers and also US buyers.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
when you get up to that price, it starts to be a big difference in price. Totally.
Well, and of course the question I don't want to ask, but I'm sure people listening, I can hear them saying, "Ask, ask, ask," is just how much all of that affected for you for the holidays when it came to figuring out tariffs and customs and
Yeah,
yada yada yada.
yeah, it's
Which
been a
I
lot of
mean,
work.
we should pour cocktails for that conversation.
It's been a lot of research
Yeah.
and, yeah, expense. And I ended up, like, for my US market on Shopify, you can set prices per market, and, like, every US order is taking me a good 5-10 minutes longer to process once it's ordered just because of all the customs forms to fill out and
Mhm.
extra paperwork to print out, attach to the box, so I ended up upping the price a little bit just for US buyers just because it takes a lot of time.
Yeah, makes
Yeah,
sense. Makes absolute,
yeah.
I mean, this is the reminder of why it's called shipping and handling and not just postage.
That's probably been the biggest surprise of, like, this whole pottery world of online selling is just how much work shipping is and the costs of materials and all that, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
dealing with sometimes broken packages, lost packages, and good
Yes.
fun,
The customer service side of things that is completely outside of your control, but you're still the one people are coming to.
especially after they've spent a good chunk of money.
Well, I mean, I know none of us have the perfect answer, so I wanna caveat this with whatever you say does not need to be seen as God's honest truth, but I
Yeah.
also know everybody's gonna wanna know what you do in those situations.
Oh, I think 2 things have arrived broken, and I've seen the boxes, and they're, like, pretty smashed.
Mhm,
And you can't insure pottery with any of
mhm.
the shipping companies, so I just remake them. Yeah, every one I've remade. Lost package, I remake it. Yeah, and I don't charge them anything for shipping or anything like that. Just part of it, I figure.
Well, and I mean, 2 out of what, 600?
Yeah,
That's
it's not too
that's
bad.
a perfectly acceptable percentage.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I think the one thing we added to our terms, especially for Etsy, was like a I've learned this the hard way, was giving yourself terms on the front end publicly so it's there, so you can say this was written and you agreed to this, and then you can make the exception for someone, which
Yeah.
gives them a win rather than not having anything on the front end and being like, "Well, that came from like somebody reaching out maybe 6 months after buying something or something, and it's like, "Oh, this cracked." You know, what I had one where somebody said and it was for the giant mug, and they said all they did was pour hot water into it and the handle popped off, and I was like,
Hmm.
"That's not scientifically possible."
I did have one actually. The woman had said her husband just pulled out of the cupboard and the handle popped off.
Mm,
And she did show me a picture and it looked like a clean I must have missed a little break. It was being held together by glaze or something.
sure.
So I remade it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't look like she was lying.
Right. That was
Go ahead.
always the thing was, we just asked for pictures because
Yeah.
as potters, we can tell, and there's nothing wrong with asking for a picture because, like, you can tell then from the break, like, oh, yep, you know what? That's on me and I can send you a new one, or like, no.
Yeah. Especially after some time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly.
So
So,
I probably should have a bigger policy things. My website's pretty simple, but it's kind of one of those things. More
well,
work.
so there's always something.
There's
The
always
list
something.
does not end. That's for sure. It's just a matter of, when that occasion happens that's a big enough pain point that you're like, "Okay, it's time to update this because I never wanna have to deal with this again."
I think that's yeah, totally.
Yep. But speaking of website, so since obviously you've got a ton of traction on social media, I assume, just looking at the numbers, is it been, like, pushing people towards a website? People are gonna be 0% surprised when I mention an email list, or kind of what's been that side of things in terms of the business?
Primarily, so I don't do any, like, password sales or anything like that,
Mhm.
but I do always advertise joining the email list just to be updated. Because I don't know why with Instagram, but if you post a story of your dog, it's like 3,000 views, and if you post a story of your sale, it's like 400 views, so
I mean, the skeptic in me presumes that it's some very smart algorithm that understands that when you're promoting something, if the numbers are down, you might pay for advertising. They're not a billion-dollar
I
company
sometimes
for
try and
nothing.
trick it where I put, like, a picture or something that I know will do well. Because usually the story after will also get good traction, so
Mhm.
try and trick Instagram that way.
Nice. I'm here for it. They're doing just fine, so I'm here for it.
But yeah, I do email subscribers. I think I have 35,000 Instagram followers, and I think I have nearly 2,000 email subscribers, so I don't know what the average statistics are.
I looked these numbers up because and I'm gonna make that into a percentage for us because I think it would be really helpful for people. Because I think all of us as, like, small independent people think that our results should somehow be I don't know, maybe we're trained from school to be trying to get A's. I mean, this is my nerdy self, like, straight A's. And so you assume you're always gonna be, like, in the 90% of things, when in reality, the average conversion rate of stuff like this, so 2,000 divided by 35,000 is 5.7%, which is actually good.
Oh, is it?
That's
Okay,
very
yeah.
good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like a pretty I've read and this depends obviously on the more niche you are, the higher the percentage probably, your e-commerce, funny design t-shirt drop ship places, lower percentages.
Okay.
But, Yeah, like above 5% is actually a really high conversion rate. And then that's just the conversion rate from like getting someone to leave social media to give you their email address.
You're right.
And then you've got the whole other conversion rate of somebody who is on your list actually making a purchase,
Right. Yeah.
right? Which can sound depressing. So the conversion rate for that sometimes is like 2%. So if it's
Right.
2% of 2,000, I'm using my phone calculator.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's 40 people buying work.
I those numbers are on Shopify. I don't remember them
Eh,
off
don't
the
worry
top of
about
my
it.
head.
Yep.
And there is quite a few like return buyers, which is awesome. A few people have like someone has 10. I was like, how did you get 10? Out of
You're
all
like,
this.
are you hacking my website?
Yeah. He said him and his wife both buy at the same time so they can try and get it. It's crazy.
But then are they knocking each other out?
Though
Like
they're
if they're
both
buying the
going
same
for
thing?
like, we're gonna get this and he's gonna get this
Oh, okay. Okay.
because they sell out pretty quick. So then they're
Right. Right.
both getting one or two and then yeah.
So technically they've really only checked out like 5 times.
Yeah.
Like as a household.
Yes. Paid for shipping a few times.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. That's wild. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, that's like I do the math on there just to say because I hope that it's encouraging for you and for other people because like once you figure out what the norm is, then it's like, oh, actually, I'm doing all right.
Yeah. Because yeah, I would have thought, oh, 2,000 out of 35 is not huge, you would think.
hmm
But
hmm
yeah, it's not bad.
Yep, doing just fine.
Thanks for doing the math.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and then also the other, I think the paradox, I suppose, is the bigger you get, the smaller that percentage goes down,
I
right?
imagine, yeah,
So the
for
people
sure.
with hundreds of thousands of followers, you're getting maybe a 1% conversion,
Right.
but
That
you
makes it
know,
and I
that's still
imagine it would
enough.
go up if you did the password only through email.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I'm
I don't
You're gonna have to try that and report back.
yeah. I always worried like, I've thought about doing it, but then I also think, like, I always get messages after of, like, older people saying, like, "Oh, they weren't fast enough to check out," and I didn't wanna add another layer of
hmm
difficulty to check out by having to have a password
Yeah.
because
Yep.
there's definitely an advantage to being able to, like, Apple Pay and super quick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is one of those like I was just having a conversation about this for a totally different subject, but around the idea of like you're trying to do something and you're trying to do it fairly, but when it's online, that presumes a bunch of things in the first place in terms of
Mhm.
decent Wi-Fi, comfort with the internet and
Yep.
technology, which is, going to sound crazy to a lot of people because it is so pervasive, but
It's
my
first come,
typing
first
speed is
serve.
exactly
Yeah.
like I don't save my credit card info in places because I just don't want to, and I don't need to check out that quickly. Maybe it'll
Right.
stop me from making a purchase.
That's smart, yeah.
But if you want to do that, or if you have everything saved in your phone or whatever, yeah, that's
That's how it is, yeah. I know it happens to a lot of sellers super quick, and
like,
if you're not
yep,
there, yeah.
yep. I mean, I think it's one of those things that there is no perfect system. Like, I don't know.
No. I have seen others, like, where they almost have you can pay a bit of money to get, like, a before sale. Yeah, different ideas, but
I think Kate Trader and I may have talked about that. I don't remember if we talked about it when I interviewed her, so it's on the record for people to go
okay.
find, or if she and I just had a conversation. So sorry, everybody. I think it was when Instagram had what was it that they tried to do that I don't see anybody using anymore? That you were a subscriber on Instagram. You got that
Oh,
little like
right.
purple
You pay money,
crown
you can
thing.
get
Yeah.
extra features or whatever.
And it was a nominal, I think she did like $3 or something. Like
Okay.
something relatively small. So it's still a barrier, but not a huge barrier. And for that ability to say, this is going to give you an hour before everybody else or something, a
Right.
small window of time, which when you're talking about tens of thousands of people, $3,
That can
that
add
can go a
up.
long way.
But I don't want people to be disappointed after spending money. Is the
Exactly.
other issue, yeah. There is no like you said, no perfect system.
Mm-mm. No, no, because also you wouldn't want to, like you're not gonna have somebody input the year they were born when they signed up for your email newsletter and then, like, filter by age and send out a message to be like, "Because you're over the age of
Oh, those
62, you get this link now." Like,
yeah. I have
rude.
thought about that. I'm like, "No, there's no way to do that."
Absolutely not. I think the
Yeah.
only way you could pull that off would be, like, if you were having a big birthday and you were like,
Mhm.
"Hey, I'm about to turn, 40 or 50 or 60 or whatever, 65, and, like, I'm sending this out only to the people who have this." I don't know. It
This day,
doesn't there's
yeah.
no way. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a tough one.
Uh-uh. I don't think so. No, I think what has to happen maybe is, like, someone needs to ask a loved one who's very fast with the fingers
For sure.
to make a purchase.
Yeah. And I do get it all the time, like, yeah, like the husband and wife or people will message me after like, "Oh, my partner and I ordered, we have different last names. Can you combine the orders?"
Mhm.
People are doing that quite a bit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, this may be a big question, and you can say no. But I feel like you're in this space where a lot of people might dream of being in terms of like you're sharing your work with the internet and the world, and it has totally popped off. You're able to quit other jobs and be full time. What has surprised you, good or bad? Because I think when before you're full time, a lot of people
Mhm.
dream about it, right?
Right.
And we dream about something and maybe we only think of the good stuff.
Right, right, right.
Maybe? I don't know.
Um,
Because also it's such a compressed timeline for you. I wonder how it feels
yeah,
differently.
it was a wild year to like
Yeah.
do that change. But then I like I never sold any work before doing the tiles, so it's like the tiles took off and then that's all I've been doing, but it's also like super slow and I'm not making a huge production. So I don't have anything to compare it to. So it's like it is surprising for my life career path to change so quick, but I don't have any like it's just been a lot of learning, selling online, shipping, all these different aspects of it. And I know like I could do more with my Instagram and but I like not being on Instagram and having to post all the time. And I've realized that comes from a very privileged place to have this many followers for the amount of posts I have. But um, yeah,
Don't fix it if it's not broken.
yeah, it works, and I'll do another stop motion video soon and see if it goes well. But yeah,
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned before that you were doing, I'm assuming teaching English was remote, the
yeah,
scope work was remote.
also remote. Yeah,
And is that kind of like contractor type thing? So you were in a way sort of self-employed already? Like you were
yeah,
already having to drive the ship, for lack of a better.
yes, both
Yeah.
of them. Yeah, were
Okay.
self-employed. Yeah,
So that's
work.
that's like a huge jump forward, I would say, even if it was radically different industries.
Yes, yeah. But I've been doing self-employment work, like at home work since 2016. So
Okay.
it's been a long time.
Happy
Yeah.
10-year anniversary.
Oh yeah. It's been such a change from yeah, but
Yeah.
but I
Well,
do like work with my hands compared to
mhm,
computer work, and that was a big relief to get off of that.
feel that deeply. 10 years ago, was it also teaching English in the scope work, or how much has that self-employment route kind of shifted over time?
That was 2016. My wife and I moved to Ireland on like a working holiday visa.
Okay, I
And then
love
I
all of the countries that are already involved. Like, now I just wanna talk about this. Okay,
we went to Ireland 2 years, Portugal 2 years, and then Nova Scotia.
nice.
Because 'Cause I'm originally from Vancouver, other side of Canada. But then when we left Portugal, it was like, no way we could buy a house in Vancouver because prices are crazy.
Because
Nova
everybody from
Scotia,
Seattle's leaving Seattle to go to Vancouver.
there you go.
Mhm.
So, Nova Scotia is still somewhat affordable to be on a coast.
I was thinking about whether or not I wanted to admit this, and we will because I always embarrass myself on these things. My grandma loves this TV show called Rex, which
Nice.
is the east side of Canada, but it's like a tiny little island somewhere. It's the German Shepherd who's a cop, who's like a detective.
Oh, okay.
So
I think I've heard of
as
this.
we're talking about regions of Canada and talking about the East Coast instead of the West Coast, all I'm picturing are the scenes from this horrible, not horrible, it's endearing. It's just you don't want it for the acting. Okay, like you're
Yeah,
not
I've heard of
he's
this.
and yeah, so that's that I just need to admit to all the Canadians listening that my visual for Nova Scotia is rooted in Rex, which is probably not even the same region, but at least it's on the East Coast.
I don't know where that was filmed, yeah.
I'll
Maybe
just admit that.
Newfoundland?
Who knows?
I don't
Maybe?
yeah, I
I'll
don't
look it
know.
up. I'll let you know.
Okay.
Perhaps also, I should not be talking about geography. This is a terrible plan. We should move on. So, hearing about the moving and doing the remote work and things like this, it makes and this is why I love these conversations because it makes the acceleration of you going from other job to full-time pottery and talking about Shopify and all of these things like it makes more sense because it's not like you were going to an office every day where you had a
No, yeah.
spelled out like annual bonus and what's the I'm trying to think of all the corporate speak. You know,
Benefits.
the well that
Oh,
but it, like the just the
sick
systems that are
pay,
already
all these
built.
things, yeah.
That and like your review, your quarterly and annual
Oh,
review
gotcha.
where now this is the chance to have a promotion and this is how you get paid and this is like when if you've been doing that version of life for a couple of decades to jump into self-employment would be like, you know,
Scary, a lot.
yeah,
Big
like a
undertaking.
huge mental, I don't know,
Shift.
explosion.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, and then so that you're right, it wasn't as drastic of a change, you could
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, we've gone from instead of having to find people who want to hire you to teach English, you get to keep your hands in clay and make sure people find your work.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
It's
And all
another
my
thing.
my teaching was all students in China. It's
Mhm.
I had, like, my own little company with, like, 40 students I would teach online in the
Yeah.
mornings, and yeah, it was a good little gig while it lasted, but I was
Yeah.
very happy to be done with it too.
I mean, as soon as you were talking about teaching online, I was like, "Well, yeah, I found an Italian teacher through, like there's different websites and stuff that, like I'm on the other side of that because I'm learning another
Right.
language that I
Oh, cool.
found somebody to learn from online." So, yep.
Yeah. It is a great opportunity, yeah, to learn from native speakers that maybe you don't have a teacher in your town, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, so this makes me feel a little bit better and makes more sense to me now because I was like, you touched clay for the first time 2 years ago. It blew up and now already I was like, "What? How? Like, are you sleeping? Is everything okay? How are we feeling?" So, slightly more sense.
It's been such a, like, a quick change, but also, like, a lot of learning. Even, like, I wish I'm jealous of, like, not work related or even Turn Studio where they have these like Kenny at Turn Studio, where they have these, like, what's the word? Like, digital backgrounds. They know computer design. It's work, but they have a sense of how to do it
Yes.
probably quicker than I can, so
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
very analog, copy paste to make things.
As long as you know the keyboard shortcut for copy and paste, you're
I
fine.
do know that, I do know
Great. Then we're okay.
that.
I have deep questions for people that don't use keyboard shortcuts. I'm like, there's a faster
Oh,
way to
yeah.
do that, right?
Yeah. That was a whole court editing was all shortcuts, and yeah,
Yes. Oh,
that
yeah.
was helpful for that
Yeah.
aspect.
It's funny you mentioned Kenny because when he and I sat down to talk, he mentioned that he helped build Divi, which is a WordPress like a visual builder for WordPress. And I
Okay.
literally, one of my photography company websites, I built on Divi. So I was like,
Oh,
hold
funny.
up. Like,
Coming around all the way
hold on a
around.
second. We need to have a separate conversation about this glitch I have. No, I'm kidding. This is, I think, the interesting thing that a lot of us who find clay later in life, like a lot of times, we can tell ourselves, like, oh, I wish I would have gotten into this earlier. I wish I would have known. And yet there are so many skills that you bring that you already have that are not the actual act of making a mug, but, even just mentally being comfortable with the notion of like finding people who are interested in what you offer.
Yeah, and I
It's a huge
enjoy,
skill.
like, Instagram. I enjoy making little videos.
Mhm,
That's, like, since I was in high school, I always enjoyed making little iMovie videos, playing around, so
mhm.
that part I've didn't mind doing, making
Yeah.
videos like that, yeah.
Well, what part of, kind of this having taken off, either, like, before you were full-time or now after, whatever, anything in the last, like, year, I suppose, what part has been different than you expected it to be? Like, I don't know, it can be good or bad.
I don't know. I didn't have any expectations before, so it's all
Fair enough, fair enough.
yeah. Yeah, because I mean, because it's gone better than I could have ever
Mhm.
imagined. I don't have too many negatives other than, like, the time it takes,
Well,
and
the
I'm,
wrist
like,
pain.
just the wristband. I do have an AirPen,
Okay.
which does help, but it actually it slows down the process, so it's
Oh.
just it takes longer to use it than if I use this squeeze by hand. It's just
Oh.
I can get into faster rhythm than using the AirPen.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's just the nature of it. Like, it's great and it works really good. It's just if I have 3,000 dots to do, I can do it by hand in an hour and a half, and it would take 2 hours to do it with an AirPen. So it's like,
Hold on.
yeah,
Since I already have the phone calculator in front of me, now I've gotta know. 3,000 dots in 90 minutes. Oops, that's 30. 3,000 divided by
it's very design
yeah,
dependent
it's 30,
and like
33 dots a minute.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Wow.
weird things like squares take longer to glaze than circles and hexagons because it's like I have to go to each corner with the squeeze bottle. Where with
Oh.
circles and hexagons, I just dot, 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 dot.
Sure.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
weird little things.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I guess the question becomes, and this is why pricing becomes overwhelming and exhausting, do
Mhm.
you account for that in the difference? Like, are the square design should the square should what a terrible word, but whatever. Should the square designs be more expensive than the circle and hexagons?
So the way I've kinda done it, the square designs have like 1,100 squares, where a lot of the hexagon ones have like 2,000, 3,000, and they about take about the same amount of time.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
This reminds me also from a making standpoint, what I didn't tell you before we hit record is that I do let our community members know ahead of time who I'm going to interview, and
Okay.
then they can check you out if they don't already know your work and send me some questions. So,
'Kay.
before I forget, there is just broadly across the board of anybody who responded, there is broad amazement and fascination with how intricate and detailed your glazing process is. So I just want you to know that across the board from fellow potters. And definitely one of the first questions from Ruth was wondering how your hands are with such a time consuming repetitive process from a potter with sore hands.
Yeah, I so from the wheel aspect, yeah, I don't have any pain, but I'm only on the wheel maybe like 3 days a month. The rest is glazing.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay.
So glazing, yeah, I feel it after a couple days. So I do try and plan like to do certain designs. It works really well with the AirPen. So I do try and work around so I'm not doing too much repetitive
Mhm.
day after day. So yes, I do feel pain after a couple days. And I that's what makes it like long term. I realize
Yeah.
I had to figure out ways to like maybe make simpler designs so that you get more of it anyways. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna send you a link to one of our members who I interviewed here on the podcast. She has the alignedpotter.com, and it's all about merging, like, body care and pottery and physical
Okay.
therapy and all of that. So I'm gonna send you a link to her website afterwards also. Maybe she'll
Okay.
have some
For
some
sure.
good
Yeah.
stretches. Lucy was asking, you were talking about the stop motion. Lucy was asking how long each reel actually takes you to make. And I think it's going to be very comforting for her to realize just how few of them there are.
Yeah. So very dependent on design.
Mhm.
The last one I did broke me. It took over 6.5 hours
To make the
to
reel?
to shoot the reel
Okay. Okay.
because that I did it with the drugs mug, which has just over 5,000 dots. So it's like every dot I was taking a picture. So it was like, yeah, I started it and I was like halfway through, it was already like 3 hours if I'm like, "I can't stop." So, typically, it would be, like, an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Okay.
Yeah,
If you just glaze something, it'd take you an hour and a half or 2 hours just to glaze without the stop motion.
depending on the design. So, like,
Sure.
the little patch ones I do, those
Mhm.
take about 30-35 minutes to glaze. If I do a stop motion, it's probably an hour and a half.
Okay. So you're basically doubling your time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then editing actually is not that long. It's just
Right.
sometimes I'm quickening it up, speeding it up, slowing it down in
Mhm.
certain spots. So that's maybe like 20 minutes to edit
Yep.
after. Yeah.
Huh. Wow. I mean, I played around with stop motion when I was in the UK because I was doing like little clay figures with kids, and of course, oh shoot, I forget the name of the show that was so popular
Oh,
in like 2010, 2011. Maybe it was
not
more popular
Chicken
in the
Run.
UK.
No.
Might have been. It was a little bit of that and then something else. I don't remember. But anyways, they had seen stop motion, so they were interested in it. And I didn't have the same amount of photography skills I have now, but I had it a little bit. And so we did that. But just even like moving a
So it's a
figure
lot.
across a pretend background, that's as big as a notebook or something.
Yeah.
Gosh, it's incredible.
Watching those movies, knowing that they're doing stop motion is
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm sure some people might see what you've done and assume it's just a time lapse,
Yeah, possibly.
you know?
Without the hand.
Oh, yeah, sure. Right. Yeah, they're not necessarily connecting that. Oh,
Yeah.
gosh. This is the incredible part is because like, people think because I know photography, like, this would be like, that's I can honestly admit I will probably never do that. Because I don't wanna spend all that time with a camera as much as anybody else. Like, I'm
Yeah.
amazed. It's incredible.
I just do it with my phone.
Right. Yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
in general,
Little
like,
yeah.
yeah.
And it helps to have one of those little,
Yes,
what
you
do
have
you call
a remote
shutter.
shutter.
I didn't at first, and then Kenny's like, "You need a shutter." So
Yes. And a
that
tripod.
helped.
Obviously, once you have a remote shutter, you need a
A
tripod.
little tripod for sure, yeah.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
also the pottery clamp by
Oh,
Caitlin
yeah, yeah.
is
Yeah.
awesome for holding it.
Which probably just helps your hands in general.
Oh, it's real awesome, yeah, because then I can, like, properly lean while I'm doing it, and I have, like, a little elbow
Mhm.
pad. So, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, so I guess I mean, I feel like the theme of what we're saying between, like, the cricket or is it cricket? Cricket? Wow. Yeah, it's a
I don't
cricket.
know, I use a silhouette. I don't
Okay.
know the proper pronunciation of the other one, but yeah.
I don't know. Either way, having a tool to get you through that taping side of things, like
Yeah,
there's still tons of manual work, there's still tons of craft that you're putting in, but using the tools available to us to extend the longevity of what you can actually do so you can keep doing it is
for
kind
sure,
of
yeah.
throughout all of these things. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, like, I've thought about should I go into slip casting because I'm on most of my mugs are straight sided, but
Hmm.
I also I enjoy wheel throwing and I like that. I kind of feel it goes with the tile designs because it's kind of like coming from old fashioned and not everything was perfect, and so every mug is a bit unique. It makes adding stencils a little harder because they're not always 100% perfect,
Yes.
but I've made do.
Because it's like so much easier than taping already. So, why
Yeah,
not?
for sure.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm gonna mention what Bethany said just to hit home the point so you know that your work is appreciated and also acknowledged, similar to what Ruth was asking, wondering how or better if you manage to balance such time-consuming, detailed-oriented designs and sanity and keeping up with demand.
Huh. Yeah, definitely knowing, like, my limits, which, like, on certain designs, like the drugs mug, I get requests for it all the time.
Yep.
They take, like, 2 hours straight of glazing just the DOS, not let alone the liner glaze, the handle glazing, and everything. So, like, I'm gonna be doing them again in March, April, but I won't do more than 1 a day, like, glazing, so knowing kind of my limits. Because last year I made 85 of them, and it was like, I can't do them anymore. Last year I had to take a break.
That actually brings up a question for me in terms of like maybe you're just more well balanced than I am, and I hope that that's the answer. But is there any kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Either coping mechanism or like approach that you found to help if there's any sense of like anxiety or nervousness around or stress around like getting those messages of people being like, I want this, how can I get it? And it's like, yes, I'm working on it. It's going to take me 2 more months. Feel free to jump on the
Uh,
email list.
yeah, that's usually what I say. Like,
Yeah,
best of jump on my email list. I don't worry too much about it. Every now and then I will like if there's a customer that's bought several and they're like, "Oh, can I get this?" Sometimes I'll add them in kind of a
sure.
special request, but yeah, for the most part it's just sorry, gotta wait.
I'm going to chalk this one up to cultural country differences and that you're just better balanced and acclimated than those of us slightly south of you, where productivity and Puritan ethic are rooted deep into our bones.
Yeah. And I kind of like what I love about it and I could do more, but I
Uh,
really like being able to, I take my dog for a walk. We want to go hike. It's a nice day. Let's go hiking. And it's like, I do work a decent amount, but it's not like 80 hours a week or anything. It's
yeah.
try and be balanced. If it's good surfing, I go surfing. Yeah.
I
So,
mean, I imagine it's also a very small window of time, so you have to take advantage of that. Otherwise, I do have friends that surf on Lake Michigan, and the best surf, the bigger waves are in the winter. So they surf in full wetsuits that cover their heads and their toes and their fingers.
yeah,
So,
do that. It's all
oh
year.
gosh.
Yeah. It's
Oh,
all year.
I took one surfing lesson once with a friend. We were on a road trip. We were doing like the classic Pacific Coast Highway situation,
Okay. Yeah.
and we were in Monterey. So this is like Pacific, so it's
Yeah.
already warmer than Atlantic, in my opinion. Maybe that's wrong, but I'm fairly certain.
Until the summer. It gets pretty warm in the summer
Okay.
where Pacific doesn't warm up, but
Well, we were in Monterey. I think I was in Monterey. So not Southern California, but farther up
like, oh,
in
no.
November.
Okay.
So it wasn't exactly cozy, but that's probably as cold as I would go.
Yeah. The coldest, I don't know what it is in Fahrenheit.
Eh,
The coldest I've been out is like -8
yeah,
Celsius.
yeah.
So whatever
It
that I
wasn't
think it's
that
like,
cold.
yeah.
Mm-mm. How
You're
long
pretty
can you
warm in
stay in the
the
water?
a good hour and a half, 2 hours, you're all right. The only exposed part is your face, so it's like if you have to go under the water more than once, it's like starts to get a bit numb, but
You're like, but no big deal. Who needs a nose?
you survive, you can move. Yeah, as long as you're moving, you're warm.
Well, yeah. But we really couldn't I finally had to give up. Obviously, also, it was my first time ever surfing. So, like, we
Right.
did both get up,
That's
which was exciting.
that's cool.
But then I had to admit defeat because we didn't have anything over our feet. We just had the
Ooh,
regular wetsuits. And at a
yeah.
certain point, you couldn't feel your feet. And so you weren't going to be able to get up on the board because it was just like,
No.
I don't know where my big toe is anymore. So
Yeah, that's brutal.
here it is. Here it is. It's amazing. There's a million other things that I'm sure everybody wants to know about how it all works and how this has happened. I don't have a clear, specific question to ask you about it because for me, I'm assuming it's also one of those stories of like, you had a really clear vision of an idea. It's incredibly unique. I don't see a lot of other people doing it. And that speaks to people.
That's been, yeah, my favorite part too, like getting messages from people, whether it's like, "Oh, this reminds me of my grandma's childhood home." It
Mm,
just brings them back to something or takes them someplace, whether it's
yep.
European, wherever, somewhere in Europe. Yeah, so that's kind of been the coolest part that I wasn't expecting to come out of it, just like the connection these kinda have. I still get excited, like, every time I open the kiln and see them, and the texture on them super nice because of the glaze, and yeah.
I know, I just wanna hold one. Like, every time I see you doing what you're doing, I'm like, "It's just gotta be such an enjoyable tactile experience."
Yeah, and that's why I started making a video the other day, realizing I've never actually talked about that aspect of
Mm,
it. I think I just figure people assume they know, but some people are using glaze or underglaze or what are you so I
yep,
should
yep.
explain more.
I'm getting rid of the word "should" in all of our vocabulary. I'm attempting to, I'm not being very good at it, but, whatever.
Yeah.
If it's working, it's working. Well, is there anything that you wish people knew either about, how you kind of wound up doing this, or
Yeah,
what
it
it's
kind of
like for everything to have exploded so quickly?
yeah, it's kind of grown organically. Like even some of the designs have come from like the drugs one was somebody's what's the word? Commission
Mm.
initially when I did a video of making it and that kind of blew up and then I got a bunch of requests asking them. So it's just from where I started and making the designs and like figuring out because it's quite a bit of work to like know how many dots for a pattern to work and make sense for each aspect. I have a new appreciation for tile setters and tile companies. It's a lot of work.
Yes.
So yeah, and then just it's been cool. While I like and hate commissions because they end up taking so much longer, but it also is like a great way to challenge and take me out of what I usually do. So I usually learn a lot from each one. I don't take too many commissions now,
I was
just
gonna
because
say,
they,
everybody just calm down when he says that, like,
yeah.
this is not an open invitation.
No, I did quite a few at the beginning just because it was like, "Oh, sure, yeah, let's try it."
I mean, I think that's actually a really great point because, like, being open to doing that allowed you to have a conversation with somebody who was interested in your work. You learned from what they were interested in and then learned how that applied to a clearly a much bigger audience
Yeah,
with,
yeah,
like, the drugs
exactly.
design, for example.
For sure. And what I've found is once I've now have these stencils made, a lot of tile designs are just like variations of these stencils. So to create a new stencil is not so much work because I can copy and paste a lot of
Mhm.
it over. So while it was a lot of legwork at the beginning, creating them, yeah, paid off now.
I wanna say, like, it's sort of like an exponential curve, but that's not exactly accurate in the sense that, like, the work on the front is a lot heavier, but once you have it, then you can run with it.
Yeah, minus the glazing. That will always be because I always get people, "Can't you paint the dot? Wouldn't it be faster to paint them?" And but it's just depending on the design, yeah, again.
Well, I also assumed that that would lose what we were just talking about of the tactile nature of it. The thickness would change, everything.
So couple of issues painting with the small is like you gotta do 2 coats, and because of most of my designs have, like, multiple colors in different spots, it'd be like trying to not get glaze on those colors would take more time than just adding a dot around it,
Yeah,
so
your cleanup time in terms of, like, you could dunk the whole thing and then wipe away the spots, but then keeping track of those spots, like,
yeah.
how do you keep track, actually? Because that's still difficult with the pin.
Keep track of
Do you go through and do one color the whole time, or you're just changing as you go so you know where you're at? Because I could just see myself missing one getting off by 1 dot and not realizing until I was way too late.
I, only who has it? What's her name? She lives in California, but it's from the East. Anyway, she bought one, and
Uh-huh.
when she got it, there was actually a missing dot. The first time I've ever sent one out that I know of
At
with a
least I went
missing
to a
dot.
Potter.
Yeah, I know. I sent her another one just I felt so bad. Nicole
Oh,
Dacey?
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, Nicole
Yeah, yeah,
Dacey,
yeah.
she's from the East Coast, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So she got the only one that
Oh,
I know
that's
of with a
funny. Oh,
missing
that's
dot.
a
Yeah.
lovely person to have that happen to, though. I bet she was so
Yeah,
sweet.
she was great about it.
Yep. She would
Um
look that closely, though, that tracks.
Once she showed me a picture, yeah, yeah, I could see it. I don't know how I
Well,
missed it.
I mean, because there's thousands of them?
So the contrast, most of the colors are quite contrasted to the dark brown clay, so the
Mhm.
white glaze is easily seen. I use a lot of white and black, so it ends up
Right.
being pretty most I don't use
But
brown on the brown clay very much.
well, that's fair. I guess I was thinking more like with some of the patterns that are not like every other, where you could go through one line with the white and go and skip one white, skip one white. Like that I can
Yeah.
mentally follow, but like when I start to think about your hexagons within hexagons or you know,
So I'd say
yeah,
first mugs take a long time. I'm often like, if it's been a few months since I've done a design, I'll pull up the picture on my phone and just count down to copy
yeah,
where the starting point is. And after you have the starting point, it's just a pattern after that.
just he says. Yeah, it's just a pattern of 3,000 dots. Sure, yeah, no big deal.
but it's repeating, so it's repetitive.
I think I would still go cross-eyed. This is the beauty of what we do. Like, I
Yeah,
love and appreciate your aesthetic, and I will never attempt to make
I
your
know,
aesthetic. I will just get on the email list.
lots of people say that.
Yeah, yeah. But that's amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the best part is because then when somebody writes to somebody else and says, I don't know, I used to live in New York and I miss the subway tiles. Can you make me something? That potter can say, I can't, but I know somebody who can,
there you go.
you know?
I have thought
Like,
about selling stencils because people ask all the time, but I don't know if I wanna jump into that. Another
eh,
business.
yeah. Yeah, I struggle. This is a Rebecca hot take for anybody who's still listening. I mentally struggle a lot with the the desire to always be able to buy something to solve the problem as fast as possible. And I
Right,
get that that is a natural human thing, right? I'm sure I have this desire and well, I know I have this desire in many other ways. Like if I just get the right pillow, I will sleep better as opposed
right.
to like let's talk about, anxious thoughts. Um, like, let's go to therapy. The hours of your labor that went in to figure it out.
If I did ever do it, it wouldn't be designs I make. I would just be like a blank canvas little thing they could try. The thing that kinda holds me back is it's not like a permanent stencil, like, you get 2 uses out of it. I don't know how to price it. I don't want people to feel like it'd be more of a headache than what I could actually charge for them, so
Yeah, at that point, it would make more sense to do like a relatively cheap silhouette digital file download, and then you
yeah,
don't have to
yeah,
ship
actually,
anything.
that's true. Yeah, but
I can come up with great ideas for other
that is
people.
a great idea. Next week, Rebecca has a stencil for
Thank you so
sale.
much. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, it's just one of those things of like, I understand how much all of us love this craft and we see something we get excited about and we want to like try it ourselves because we're
Yeah.
curious. But at the same time, it's like the reason that you're so intrigued by this thing that someone's making is oftentimes because of the hours of research and labor and trial and error that
Yeah.
went into it. And so that tension between if you just tell me how to do it, where you got the stuff, et cetera, I can skip past the pain and have the
Yeah.
thing and have the reward. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
eh,
And
I
people
don't know.
do ask a lot of questions, and I don't mind sharing
Mhm.
most things. There's just a couple things that I don't really share as far as the stencils go, but yeah, I
Which I
think
think is important online. I think everybody's used to, you know, it's this weird balance we have to find now of like it's great that there's not as much, there's not as much as like I don't know, institutional gatekeeping and all of this type of stuff where people kept their secrets and didn't share and this beautiful way of doing something died with the person that died. And then at the same time, it's kind of like, but also there is very real time and labor and effort that goes into
yeah,
something and it's now your livelihood. So,
totally. But I come from it to the point, like, I learned a lot from watching YouTube and Instagram, a lot of little tricks. It's just like other potters sharing, so I don't mind sharing those things, and I've had people like, "Oh, I've been watching your videos, and I just can't quite figure out this," which is fine, and yeah, most of the time, I don't mind sharing.
I think it always, at least for me, it's a matter of like, if you're having a human conversation already, I'm probably going to tell you a heck of a lot more things than if I've never heard from you before. And the first thing is like, I watched
What are
this
your
and
settings?
you didn't explain this. So how do I do that? And I'm like,
Yeah,
I made you a free video. Like it took me 4 hours of unpaid time.
that's true. I guess my only caveat to that, if they don't follow me, I don't answer.
I think that's a perfectly reasonable thing.
Yeah, at least give me your follow.
Yeah. Like it's a tap of a button. It's a free
Yeah,
action to do. Yeah. I'm down
exactly.
for that. I'm down for that. Oh man, amazing. Well, I could keep going forever, but I also want to be conscious of your time. If people don't know all of these dots that we're talking about, where do you want to send them on the internet to see what you're doing?
Primarily Instagram, Redacted Ceramics. have some videos on TikTok, but I don't really. It's been a long time. Or my
Also,
website, redactedceramics.com.
now other people own it, so maybe we should just
Yeah,
not.
exactly.
I don't suggest it. Actually, also, okay, since you mentioned it, I thought of one more question. I promise this is
Yeah.
it. How'd you come up with the name?
Oh, we were thinking of different names, and then it was like, could be this, but then it was like, oh, that's too cutesy, and then it was like
Mm.
another name. It was like what if we just did redacted? Because then it could be anything. So redacted
Because it's
ceramics.
hidden.
Yeah,
Because by nature of being redacted, you don't know what it is.
yeah, and it was before tiles, wherever it is. It has nothing to do with tiles.
Oh, now that's interesting. Because
Yeah,
I could totally see where, like, people are seeing most of your black and white work, and so stuff is, like,
redacted.
quasi-redacted. I don't know.
Yeah, and then I like the logo that came out of it. So
Yep.
it's
Well,
like a
I
little
mean,
stamp.
I would say you definitely have, like, a graphic side of the brain going on
No, that
that
was like Canva, 5 minutes, quick little thing.
I'm gonna delete that out just for the sake of my graphic design degree. No,
Sorry.
like, your tile design, I mean, like, that's, like,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
you have to have a, some understanding of how
Yeah,
these
it
things work.
takes, especially like so someone gives the Trugs mug commission,
Mhm.
what you see on the mug is not how it looks like in the picture. So it's like adapting. It's a lot of counting, like figuring out, okay, I can fit this many tiles in the mug, which you have 3.75 inches tall by like 10.5 inches long. So it's like
Yeah.
creating designs. It's a lot of figuring out what works there.
Yeah, you're thinking in proportions constantly, I
Totally.
imagine.
It's some designs are like, I can't do that. It's just too intricate to fit on a mug. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I have some ideas I want to do on plates because then it just gives you more space to work with.
And flat.
And flat. Well, the mug's flat
Maybe.
in a sense.
If you were
Straight sided.
straight-sided, but, like, I'm thinking about drawing, I guess, in the sense of, like, learning how to draw on a cylinder
Oh,
versus
right.
learning how versus, like, at least this is what I've heard from a lot of friends who have a background in painting or illustration, get into clay, and then, use the vessel basically as a canvas, and it's like, well, in order to, put a form on another form is a whole different
Right.
kind of
Yeah. I
thing.
can't draw for anything. So
Mhm. Well, you still have to
stencils
think
do my
about the
work.
Amazing, amazing. Well, now I wanna come to Nova Scotia, but it's probably actually, it might be warmer there than Wisconsin recently. I've been checking. We were colder than Anchorage, so other
Oh,
side of the
okay.
continent, I
What is it
realize, but
today? Today was like probably 30 Fahrenheit.
so just a smidgen below freezing.
Yeah.
That's warm for us right now because we had that crazy amount of cold, so I'm gonna switch it to
Oh, okay.
Celsius. We're -3 Celsius right now.
Okay. That's probably like nighttime. Yeah, we go. It's a big fluctuation here.
Cool.
Go.
Okay, well, redacted underscore, right? Redacted,
Redacted
underscore
underscore
ceramics on
Yeah.
Instagram, but we'll put a link in the show notes too so people can find you if they haven't seen it yet and check you out.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I hope this conversation with Aaron has been a good reminder that what looks like an overnight success rarely tells the whole story. And I think that matters because when we only see the highlight reel, it's easy to measure our own progress against someone else's most visible moment, rather than everything that quietly led up to that one moment. Aaron's tiles didn't go viral in a vacuum. They landed the way they did because of a creative vision that was years in the making, a comfort with working independently that he'd already been building up, and a willingness to blend the right tools with an enormous amount of very slow, very human handmade work. None of that shows up in a stop motion video. And remember that conversation we had about email list conversion rates? While Aaron has 35,000 Instagram followers and just under 2,000 email subscribers, that works out to be a 5.7% conversion rate. Now, that might sound small, but it's actually totally normal and quite healthy. So if your numbers feel discouraging right now, I want you to stop looking at the whole total numbers and start looking at the percentages. Not how many, but what proportion. Because you just might be surprised at how well you're actually doing. If you're in the middle of building something right now, it's okay if the timeline doesn't look like you expected or you hoped, as hard as that might be. It's okay if your version of this is slower or messier or less linear than what you see other people doing online. Offline, theirs is probably a lot less linear than what you're thinking anyway. And it's okay to protect your pace, your hands, your weekends, your love of the thing that we make, and yet still be completely serious about where you're headed. Don't forget, Aaron goes surfing when the waves are good. The work still sells. It's a great reminder that even when you have constant demand for what you're doing, you don't need to stop everything else and just push through that demand. You can take it at a sustainable pace that works for you, and the people who really want what you're offering will stick around. As always, if you want to be in a community with other makers who are asking these same questions and figuring out their own version of this path, that conversation is happening right now at makersplaybook.com/community. There are makers who've been full-time for years, makers who just made the leap, and makers who never plan to go full-time, but still want to build something that feels sustainable and meaningful. And we would love to have you come join us. One more time, while you're brushing the clay off your hands, it's makersplaybook.com/community. Until next time, my friends, go get back to making your dreams a reality, because together, we've got this. Audio post-production of this podcast is made possible by help from Christy Kotzvan, with promotional material assistance from Queenie Maliki. The Maker's Playbook podcast is recorded on the original homelands of the Potawatomi, Ho-Chunk, and Menominee people, where the people of Wisconsin's sovereign Anishinaabe, Ho-Chunk, Menominee, Oneida, and Mohican nations remain present.